We're back at EBNTV, and we're getting into new Rory and Mal versus new Ison-ish. Now, Joe Budden podcast, aka I'll name this podcast later, has been named for quite some time, and Mr. Joe Budden is reaping the benefits. Now, Mr. Joe Budden, pump it all the way up, has been pumping the numbers all the way up since Rory and Mal's departure. Now, Hip Hop DX has created an article based on the Twitter stats that I definitely saw Joe Budden Podcast released on the Twitterverse, because I do follow Joe Budden Podcast on Twitter, and they released the statistics of Joe Budden Podcast. Now, I wasn't too surprised by the statistics because Joe Budden Podcast is a hilarious podcast, but let's get into my damn opinion on this damn topic. Now, I made a video several months ago where Rory and Mal, who left the Joe Budden Podcast because of Joe Budden's narcissism and maybe just his inability to be a solid leader at the time, and Rory and Mal got their own podcast with Stitcher. Now, shout out to Rory and Mal. They were putting out dummy numbers at first, and I would have conversations with my friends, and they were like, "Yo, Rory and Mal, they're gonna overtake the Budden Podcast. They're doing the thing right now." And I'm like, "Yo, it's not about what they're doing right now. It's about what they're gonna do several months from now." Now, Rory and Mal have been able to be in a podcast place for months at this point, so the numbers they're having right now is probably going to be indicative of what they're going to start to average moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Even more so, in the months to come, is going to be more indicative of what their average viewership is going to be like, right? Now, Joe Budden of the Joe Budden Podcast, aka Pump It Up, has been getting the numbers pumped regardless of Rory and Mal's presence on the podcast. Now, Joe Budden was called a lot of things, right? He was called narcissist, he was called an abuser, he was called a sexual womanizer because of things that happened with his former woman co-host, so on and so forth, right? Now, Rory and Mal, once again, they went through their boost in views because everyone had their attention and their eyes on the situation. People were making videos, people were going against Joe Budden's character, because people love to just jump and bully. I don't like that. I don't like how people just jump and bully each other. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you have something to say about somebody, say it when no one cares. Don't say it when everyone cares. It's like, yo, you're trash for that. You're a trash human being for jumping on somebody when they're down. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why don't you say that when everyone likes that person, so you can look like the bad guy for just making an opinion? Because if it goes around and that person was actually just a bad person all along, you'll get the credit, but you are not going to get any credit for jumping on somebody when he's being kicked on by everyone else. Doesn't make any damn sense. But going back to the damn topic at hand, Rory and Mal are individuals that now have a podcast with Stitcher, and they're putting up around 100K a video, which is not bad. Putting up 100 to 200K a video, right? Definitely awesome. But I don't know why everyone thought that Joe Budden Podcast was going to fall off because of Rory and Mal. And I think Mal believed that. I think Rory may believe that. Me, personally, as an avid viewer of the Joe Budden Podcast, did not believe that. And now, I was an avid viewer of the Everyday Struggle. I didn't catch it live because I found out about it really late. I found out about Joe Budden Podcast before I found out about Everyday Struggle. I found out about Joe Budden Podcast when he was leaving Complex. I saw that video, and then that's what made me start watching backwards and then forwards right now. So I saw when Rory and when it was just Rory and Joe Budden, and it was Rory, Joe Budden, and that woman who I can't remember her name. And then when they brought on Mal, you know what I'm saying? I remember several things like Trey Songz can give me 30 minutes of hits or an hour of hits, something like that. You know what I'm saying? I was there for all the jokes and the memes. Mal is a funny dude. Rory is a funny dude. Their chemistry was amazing. I remember watching all of it, right? But to say that Joe Budden Podcast is going to fall off because you guys are not there is false. Now, I don't know why the narrative is that Joe Budden needed any of you guys. Joe Budden does not need anybody on the other mics. Now, it's awesome that he does, and it's awesome that he has his friends there. It's awesome that Parks is there. It's awesome that Ice and Ish are there. But I don't know why people thought that Rory and Mal were not replaceable. Now, I enjoy Rory and Mal a lot, but it is called the Joe Budden Podcast. It's not called the Joe Budden Podcast for no reason. Y'all should have stepped in when it was, I'll name this podcast later, and either let it be that, for you to stamp that the people are coming in for you, and you guys, not just Joe Budden, but y'all allowed him to name it Joe Budden Podcast and then got upset later on. Doesn't make any damn sense. People go there with Joe Budden. Now, if it was Rory and Mal by themselves at the time, when I first found out about Joe Budden Podcast, I would not have watched the podcast. Let's keep it honest, because who are Rory and Mal? Now, in this article that I'm going to actually read, Mal basically makes it seem like people were not tuning into the podcast because Joe Budden in his rap career. Now, that is just asinine. Like, of course, people are going to tune into the Joe Budden Podcast because of Joe Budden's stardom prior to the podcast. Like, that's the only reason why his podcast got any buzz in the first place, because he already had a name. Who was Rory and who was Mal? Joe Budden gave you guys a name by putting him on your podcast, by putting you guys on his podcast. It doesn't make any sense. Now, this is not me choosing any sides. This is me just being logical. Like, I don't know why like people thought that the podcast would fall off. Joe Budden is a very entertaining dude. Like, I'm not going to be a person that's just going to jump on the mass opinion of somebody. Joe Budden is hilarious. Like, I watch the podcast all the time. Now, I don't know who this person is behind the character, behind the camera. I don't know who Joe Budden is, right? I don't know who Rory and Mal are. I don't know who was correct in whatever assessment of the character development of whatever happened whenever it happened, right? But I know that Joe Budden on camera is hilarious. He can lead a whole conversation by himself. People would get upset that he would cut off Rory and Mal. He is the A mic. I went to radio school. I do this. I do broadcasting. He is the A mic. If you're the A mic, you talk the most. You talk the most if you're the A mic. Charlamagne talks the most on the Breakfast Club. He's the A mic. DJ Envy is the B mic. Angela Yee is the C mic. Yeah, they also intertwine in conversation, but whoever's the A mic will talk the most. Rory and Mal were B and C mics. Ice and Itch are B and C mics, and they know they roll. Now, it probably came down to money. Rory and Mal probably thought that they were way more to the podcast than they actually were, but I'm sorry. If the podcast is named Joe Budden Podcast, you will never be as worthwhile to the entity as the person who is named after. That is just a fact. It's a fact information. People came to the podcast over time because of the chemistry, but people who know who Joe Budden are from Love and Hip Hop, his rap career, maybe YouTube, whatever, they're tuning to the podcast because they know who Joe Budden is. And these are just facts. These are facts that matter. Now, I enjoy Rory and Mal a lot. I watch their podcast sometimes too, but I don't watch it as often as I watch Joe Budden podcast because Joe Budden is funny. Regardless of who is next to Joe Budden is funny. He is a great commentator. He's a great broadcaster. He's a great podcast host. He keeps the flow going. He keeps you entertained. He will make you watch 2 hours of a podcast. Like, I sit there and I watch 2 to 3 hours of a podcast hosted by Joe Budden. If Joe Budden was not hosting the Joe Budden podcast, I would not watch the Joe Budden podcast. I don't watch Rory and Mal as often as I watch Joe Budden podcast because I watch the Joe Budden podcast. Even I'll name this podcast later because of Joe Budden. Joe Budden is a great person at directing conversation. Now, once again, I'm not picking a side behind the scenes. I'm just telling you that it's asinine that people are surprised by this. Joe Budden is an entertaining person. Ice and Ish, they're entertaining, but you want to know why they're entertaining and they're allowed to have a platform where they can be entertaining and express themselves and be able to show their personality more? Because Joe Budden is popular and he's funny. Like, come on, let's stop the malarkey. Like, y'all only hate Joe Budden because of how he treated Rory and Mal. He didn't treat you like that. Why are you mad? You don't know Joe Budden personally. You don't know what went on behind the scenes for real. Like, come on, like, it just doesn't make any sense. People are picking sides. Now, people thought that the Rory and Mal's numbers would stay at 600K a episode. It's asinine. I just want to show you guys what the numbers are currently standing moving forward. Now, the numbers are still good though. I'm not trying to clown them. They have 230K. You know what I'm saying? They to the date of recording this video, they have almost 10 million views across their channel's lifetime. They have not been around for that long. They have almost 2 million views in the last 30 days. Great numbers though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Nice banner. You know what I'm saying? They average around 100K a damn video, which is awesome. You know what I'm saying? Mid 100Ks, right? Which is still great, like I said, but obviously it's not the numbers they were putting up in the beginning, right? Look, 800K, 700K, 600K, 500K, 400K, 300K, almost 500K, over 500K, 300K, and that's because the interest was there. Now the interest has started to die down. However, for a podcast over an hour, 2 hours, these 100K, 200K numbers is amazing though. Don't get it misconstrued. The fact that that watch time is stupid. You know what I'm saying? And they're on episode 28. They only have up to go, right? But once again, to say that the Joe Budden podcast was ever going to fall off is crazy. They do things like they upload clips, and their view numbers is still way more because of the fact that they're uploading clips. You know what I'm saying? Like they're extending the content way further, right? The last 30 days, they have over 5 million views. They have over 367 million views lifetime. Now, I'm surprised they haven't hit a million yet, Joe Budden Network, but shout out to Joe Budden. They've been doing it for years. You know what I'm saying? It's not about who's doing it for the short amount of time, who can put up a lot of numbers in a short amount of time. It's about who can do it over the length of the course. It's about going the course. You understand? Their shorts don't do very well. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're really titling it very well or what have you. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You know, but they're still putting up tons of views, man. Tons of views, tons of engagement. And I think Rory and Mal should start doing things like uploading clips, and they're getting into it, man. Look at it. I'm still only a month in, and I'm still scrolling. Hella clips, hella shorts, and Joe Budden. The Joe Budden podcast was never going to fall off. Joe Budden is a person that invested his whole life into this. Like, I don't know, it makes me upset. Really, personally, I take it personal that people thought the Joe Budden podcast was going to fall off because they're only fly-by-night individuals that claim to watch the Joe Budden podcast and was just jumping on Joe's back because of how he treated Rory on air. At the end of the day, I wasn't there. I'm from New York. I'm I'm a mind my business person. Like that's not how I know Joe Budden as a funny podcast host, and that's how I'm gonna keep interacting with him. I don't know Rory and Mal. I'm not an employee, so I can't resonate with the employee mindset that Rory and Mal kind of walked in with. I can more resonate with the boss mindset that Joe Budden was kind of going towards, and kind of made it seem like that's where his mind was at when he was doing something like kicking Rory off the damn podcast. You know what I'm saying? But once again, their own personal issues, I can only go off how I felt about the situation, where it was like, yo, I enjoy Joe Budden. I didn't like, and just in any instance, like, why are you jumping this man? Why are you jumping him? If you got something to say about him, say it when everything is good. You know what I'm saying? But let's skim down this damn article and go to what was being said. This is the actual statistics of what was said on Twitter, with the 2 pods a week, 3.5 hour or 3 hours and 15 minutes of average pod duration, 78% average completion rate, 114 unique pieces of audio, 214 countries reached, over 2 million plays per week, and over 104 million total plays. And that is stupid amount of damn audio numbers. But let's go to the damn writing that we see here. Seeing all this feedback and all of this, I do need to apologize to Rory as well. That was Joe Budden talking about the Rory thing. I don't even want to rehash that. But let's go to what Mal said after Joe Budden apparently apologized to Rory. You know what I'm saying? Mal soon returned with a rebuttal and explained he thinks Joe Budden credits his former rap career for the podcast popularity. I feel like Joe feels like a lot of the success of the podcast is based over his music career. And Mal said, and my thing is, it's not. I've been in some of these cities when you were a rapper, Joe, this many people weren't showing up for you, right? Now, Mal is right, yet not right. Because, of course, people are going to know about the Joe Budden podcast and tune in because of Joe Budden's rap career. It may not because of Joe's luxurious rap career, but we only know Joe Budden because of his music as well as being a personality. Like, people are showing up to be with Joe Budden, the personality. Now, I don't know why Mal thought, like, bro, like, it's the Joe Budden podcast, bro. If it was just Rory and Mal, y'all should have went on a tour by yourselves and saw how many people y'all could have pulled without Joe. Like, to make it seem like people were not coming for Joe is asinine, bro. It's asinine. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense. Why don't y'all go on a tour? Y'all go on a tour. Maybe y'all can go on a tour right now because y'all have a fan base now that y'all maybe didn't have when y'all was with Joe. But when y'all was with Joe, y'all should have told Joe, stay home today. Y'all should have told Joe, stay home today, and see how many people y'all would have brought by yourselves. I actually went to one of your live shows. I did. Hey, my name's Taylor. You know what I'm saying? I went to a live show. It was amazing. It was funny. I still have videos from it. But y'all should have said, hey, let's make sure Joe stays home this weekend. So let's see how many people we can pull in by ourselves. Like, it's just asinine to me that the whole narrative in the conversation was that Joe Budden was a cancer to his own show and that Mal and Rory were the reason that the show was popular. It is ridiculous. Bananas! Me? Y'all got me pumped up! Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Taylor Elajas. Make sure you subscribe to EBN Music Media. Turn on the post notification bell so you know every time we drop a new video. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to Taylor Elajas Vlogs for story times, hotel reviews, travel vlogs, things of that nature. Make sure you go ahead and follow the damn Taylor Elajas Instagram for more short, funny, satirical content where the full-length episodes are available on my Roku channel. EBNTV on Roku. If you have a Roku device or a smart TV, go ahead and type in EBNTV. Over 10 plus hours of all original content will pop up. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Taylor Elajas, and you're watching EBN Speaks.